Roger parked his car outside the local diner, his usual spot for Wednesday morning coffee. At 65, retirement had settled into a comfortable routine in their quiet suburban neighborhood. The morning sun warmed his face as he stepped out, pleased with how well the old Buick was running after the recent tune-up. "Sir. Please, wait." The desperate voice caught him off guard. A disheveled man in tattered clothes hurried toward him, his gray beard unkempt and eyes wide with urgency. Roger instinctively stepped back, but something in the man's expression made him pause. "Your wife, she cut your brakes last night. I saw her, around 2 a.m., under your car." The man's words came out in a breathless rush. "Don't drive it. Please." Roger's first instinct was to dismiss this as the ravings of a disturbed homeless person. Linda, his wife of 30 years, tampering with his car? Absurd. Yet the man's certainty, the specific details. "How do you know it's my car?" Roger demanded, heart pounding. "Blue Buick, license plate RPK 247. I've been watching. She's done this before, to others." The stranger glanced nervously over his shoulder. "Test the brakes here, in the parking lot. But not on the road. Please." Before Roger could respond, the man disappeared between the buildings, leaving him staring at his car. The coffee forgotten, Roger's hands trembled as he opened the door and slid back into the driver's seat. The parking lot was nearly empty, he could test the brakes safely here. He put the car in drive and pressed the brake pedal. It went straight to the floor, no resistance. No brakes. In that moment, Roger realized three things. He would have discovered this on the steep hill 2 blocks ahead. The stranger had just saved his life, and his wife of 3 decades had tried to kill him. The question was, why? 4 weeks earlier, Roger stood proudly in their newly renovated kitchen, admiring the granite countertops Linda had chosen. Retirement had been treating them well. His pension from 30 years of engineering work at Thompson & Associates provided comfortable living, and their investments had grown steadily. The book club meeting ran late today, Linda called out, hanging her coat by the door. She'd been attending these meetings twice a week now, something new since retirement. Roger noticed a slight tremor in her hands as she set down her purse. "Everything all right?" he asked, watching her carefully. The Linda he knew would have already started brewing tea, sharing stories about the latest bestseller they'd discussed. "Just tired." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Roger had noticed these subtle changes over the past few months: missed dinners, whispered phone calls that ended abruptly when he entered the room, and unexplained withdrawals from their joint account. That evening, while Linda was in the shower, Roger checked their online banking again. Another transfer, $5,000 to an account he didn't recognize. The description simply read, "Investment opportunity." His engineer's mind, trained to spot patterns, couldn't ignore the facts anymore. Over the past 3 months, similar transfers totaled nearly $50,000. The next morning, he drove to their local bank branch. "I'd like to discuss some recent transactions," he told the manager, sliding over the printed statements. "Mr. Thompson, these transfers were authorized using your joint account credentials," the manager explained, reviewing the documents. "But..." He hesitated. "They were processed through an offshore banking network we've been warned about. Several other retirees in the area have reported similar patterns." Roger's mind raced back to the changes in Linda. The late-night book club meetings. The nervous energy. The defensive responses when he asked about their finances. What had happened to the woman who used to track every penny they spent? On his drive home, he noticed a familiar car parked 2 blocks from their house, the same silver sedan he'd seen outside during Linda's book club nights. As he slowed down, he caught a glimpse of the driver, a well-dressed man in his 40s, speaking intently into a phone. That night, Roger lay awake, listening to Linda's steady breathing beside him. The moonlight cast shadows across their bedroom walls, where photos from 30 years of marriage hung like silent witnesses. He thought about their life together, the struggles of early marriage, building their dream home, planning for retirement. When had things started to change? And more importantly, what was she involved in now? He reached for his phone, dimming the screen to avoid waking her. A quick search for retirement investment scams yielded dozens of recent news articles. One headline caught his eye: sophisticated ring targets retirees through spouse manipulation. As he read further, his blood ran cold. The pattern was identical: book clubs used as recruitment grounds, gradual behavior changes, unexplained financial transfers. But something didn't add up. Linda wasn't just a victim being manipulated. The mysterious warning about his breaks suggested something far more sinister. What had they done to turn his loving wife into someone capable of murder? Roger sat at his computer late at night, scrolling through Linda's emails. He'd never invaded her privacy before, but fear overrode his principles. The laptop password wasn't hard to guess: their wedding date. What he found made him wish he'd looked sooner. There were dozens of emails between Linda and someone called the coordinator. They discussed retirement solutions and asset liberation. The latest email contained specific instructions: package secured. Proceed with vehicle modification on Wednesday, 2 a.m. Payment will follow usual channels. His hands shaking, Roger opened another folder. It contained detailed files on other couples, all retirees, all with substantial savings. Next to each name was a status: completed, in progress, or target. He recognized some names from the obituaries. Harold Peterson, heart attack while driving. Mary Collins, car accident on Mountain View Road. All labeled completed. Roger's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number: check the garage camera footage from last night. He hadn't installed garage cameras, someone was watching out for him. Using Linda's laptop, he accessed their home security system. 1:58 a.m., Linda entering the garage. 2:12 a.m., Linda leaving, carrying tools. The same tools he'd taught her to use during their home renovation projects. The bedroom door creaked. Roger quickly closed the laptop. Linda stood in the doorway, her silhouette dark against the hallway light. Working late? Her voice was casual, but something felt off. Just checking emails, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Don't forget your doctor's appointment tomorrow. I'll drive you. Thanks, but I prefer taking my own car. He watched her reaction carefully. A flash of something: anger? Frustration? Crossed her face before she smiled. Of course, dear. Good night. As her footsteps faded, Roger's phone buzzed again: they're watching. Trust no one. Meet me at Riverside Park, noon tomorrow. The message came with an image: a silver sedan parked outside their house, the same one he'd seen before. The pieces were falling into place, but the complete picture was more terrifying than he'd imagined. Linda wasn't just part of a scam, she was part of something deadlier, something that had already claimed other victims in their community. He glanced at their wedding photo on the wall. The smiling woman in white bore no resemblance to the stranger who'd just left the room. Somewhere between "I do" and "now," his wife had become someone else entirely. The meeting at Riverside Park revealed a darkness Roger never imagined existed in their quiet retirement community. The mysterious homeless man introduced himself as David, a former investment banker whose wife had died in a suspicious accident 6 months ago. They call themselves the Circle, David explained, his weathered face grim. They target wealthy retirees through their spouses. You're Linda, she's one of their top operators. David pulled out a worn notebook filled with names, dates, and photos. I've been tracking them since Sarah's death. They recruit at social clubs, usually targeting spouses who feel unfulfilled in retirement. Offer them excitement, purpose, and money. Then they escalate to eliminating the wealthy spouse. Roger recognized several faces in the photos, members of Linda's book club. The silver sedan? Their enforcer. Makes sure nobody backs out once they're in. David's hands trembled. My Sarah tried to leave. The next day, her car went off Miller's Bridge. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank statements showed a pattern, large withdrawals after each accident, money flowing through offshore accounts. Insurance policies, all recently updated. The book club, a front for recruiting and planning. Why didn't you go to the police? Roger asked. I tried. They have connections, cops, lawyers, even a judge. David's eyes darted around. That's why I started watching, warning people when I could. Some thought I was crazy. Others. He pointed to obituary clippings in his notebook. Roger studied a photo of Linda with other book club members, their faces bright with secret purpose. In the background, the silver sedan lurked. His Linda, who once cried over injured birds, now planned deaths over coffee and bestsellers. They'll try again, David warned. Different method, but soon. They never leave loose ends. Roger felt the weight of his wedding ring. 30 years of memories, now tainted by betrayal. But he also felt something else, determination. He had evidence, he had an ally, and most importantly, he had the element of surprise. We're going to stop them, Roger declared. All of them. David smiled for the first time. I was hoping you'd say that. They spent the next hour planning, unaware that the silver sedan had just pulled into the park's parking lot. Roger's blood ran cold as he watched Linda answer a video call in their home office. He'd installed a hidden camera after the park meeting, needing to gather evidence. Target warned. New plan required, Linda spoke firmly. The screen showed 5 other women, all book club members. Suggestions? Prescription medication swap, offered a voice. Clean, untraceable. Too slow, Linda replied. He's suspicious. It needs to look like natural causes, but faster. Roger recognized Mrs. Peterson, Harold's widow, nodding in agreement. The hiking trail accident worked well last time. His wife, the woman he'd loved for 30 years, was discussing his murder as casually as a grocery list. She'd already tried the brake tampering. Now they were planning something worse. Sunday hike, Linda announced. Upper Canyon Trail. No witnesses that time of year. The others murmured approval. Roger had all he needed. He sent the recording to David's secure email, then to an encrypted cloud drive. Insurance. Later that evening, Linda suggested they go hiking that weekend. For old time's sake, she smiled. Upper Canyon. Beautiful this time of year. Roger agreed, watching her mask of loving concern. He had 3 days to finalize their counterplan with David. But they weren't alone anymore, the police were finally involved, thanks to an honest detective who'd lost his father to a suspicious hiking accident last year. The silver sedan appeared more frequently now, watching their house. But they weren't the only ones watching. David had recruited other survivors, family members of victims. They formed a shadow network, gathering evidence, protecting potential targets. We've identified the leaders, Detective Morris told them during a secret meeting. But we need solid proof of the murder attempts. Sunday's hike might be our only chance. Roger looked at his wedding photo one last time before hiding a wire under his hiking clothes. 30 years of marriage would end on Sunday, one way or another. Detective Morris and his team took their positions around Upper Canyon Trail early Sunday morning. Roger started the hike with Linda, his heart pounding beneath the hidden wire. Halfway up, Linda paused at a narrow cliff edge. Beautiful view, she smiled, reaching into her backpack. Roger saw the slight movement behind her, the man from the silver sedan emerging from the bushes. This was their plan, make it look like he lost his balance, a tragic accident. "It is beautiful," Roger agreed, then raised his voice. "Perfect place for an arrest." Police swarmed from their hiding spots. Linda's shocked expression turned to rage as Detective Morris handcuffed her. The man from the sedan tried running but was quickly caught. "Roger Thompson," Linda spat. "Always so predictable. So boring in retirement." "Predictable enough to expose your entire operation," Roger replied, removing his wire. The evidence was overwhelming, the recorded murder planning, financial records, Linda's own confession in her rage. More members of the circle were arrested in simultaneous raids. David watched from a distance as police cars drove away with the architects of his wife's death. "It's over," he whispered. The investigation revealed 23 victims over 5 years. The circle had infiltrated retirement communities across 3 states, using book clubs as their recruiting grounds. Linda was their most successful operative, orchestrating 12 accidents. In the end, it wasn't complex detective work that brought them down. It was a homeless man who refused to look away, a retired engineer who trusted his instincts, and a detective who believed them. Roger visited Linda once in prison. "Why?" he asked simply. "You had your engineering. I needed something exciting in retirement." She shrugged. "The money was good." He left without looking back, his wedding ring already sold to start a foundation helping other survivors rebuild their lives. The conclusion of this gripping story draws together all its threads in a powerful finale of healing and purpose. Roger transformed his painful experience into something meaningful. Working with David and Detective Morris, he established the Safe Retirement Watch, an organization dedicated to protecting retirees from sophisticated predators. The foundation created a network of awareness. They educated retirement communities about warning signs, provided resources for concerned family members, and supported survivors. The same book clubs once used for recruitment now hosted safety workshops. David found purpose again, leading support groups for those who lost loved ones to the circle. His homeless disguise, once a shield for surveillance, became a reminder that heroes come in unexpected forms. The investigation's ripple effects reached far. Other retirement scam rings were exposed across the country. Police departments established special units focused on crimes against retirees. The story became a cautionary tale, saving countless lives. Roger never remarried, but he wasn't alone. He found a new family in the community he helped build. Every Wednesday, he still went to the same diner, but now to meet with survivors and share stories of recovery. Years later, Roger stood before a group of retirees, sharing his story. "Trust your instincts," he advised. "If something feels wrong, it probably is. And most importantly, you're not alone." The legacy of that mysterious warning about cut breaks became a movement, turning tragedy into triumph, and reminding everyone that it's never too late to start over, to find purpose, and to make a difference in others' lives. As Roger drove home that evening, he passed the spot where David first warned him. The blue Buick was long gone, replaced by a car with the Safe Retirement Watch logo. A reminder that sometimes, the end of one story is just the beginning of a better one.